Call this meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Welcome to the August 2022 regular school board meeting. Appreciate you all coming this evening and being with us. Please let the record reflect that all board members are present this evening. We'll start with visitor comments. We have no visitor comments. So next is the consent agenda. For the consent agenda, we have the approval of minutes from the July 18th, 2022 regular school board meeting. We have the treasurer's report for July of 2022. And Mr. Durnall, the claims, please.
I'm sorry, Mr. President, I was looking at this.
Oh, it's okay.
I'd move approval on gross wages for 7/7 of 2022 for $3,250. I'm sorry, $250. Gross wages on 7/8/22 for $528,345.07. For gross wages on July the 21st, 2022, $1,130.50. Gross wages on July the 22nd, 2022, $503,982.27. Claims prepays from 7/1/22 to 7/31/22 for $3,848,292.27. Claim vouchers for 8/15/2022 for $504,772.28. For claims on 8/16/2022 for $574,087.08. Grand total of $4,927,151.63. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, sir. And we also have personnel, resignations, retirements, non-renewals, leaves, and terminations, C1 through 25, and personnel appointments and transfers, D1 through 52. Do we have a motion?
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Yeah, President Kerr, I would just like to, there are a lot of quality people that we've hired over the last couple months, but I wanted to make mention of a transfer, and Jennifer Anderson is here tonight, and Jennifer does such an amazing job as our Director of Student Services. She's definitely a team player, and she's stepping up to the plate to take on some additional roles related to special education, and so we are restructuring her contract. And just publicly, I just wanted to thank Jennifer for being such a valuable member of the team.
Thank you very much. Now we'll have the Assistant Superintendent's report. Mr. Owen?
You guys should have cash flows up there in front of you. The education fund, starting out there, if you look at the revenue side of things, that was pretty much as expected. On the expenses, you'll see that we kind of evened ourselves out from last month with some of the departures of the contracts that we paid forward, and so that kind of evens itself out with the future payrolls. End of year numbers look a little similar to what you saw in June rather than what you were seeing last month as those rebounded, kind of like I told you would happen. Things are staying stable. I didn't change a whole lot when it comes to expected revenue moving forward. Things will move around a lot at the end of the year because we're going to wait on ADM, see where those numbers fall in, where we do with people's pay, and all the things that we're able to do that come here in the last 4 or 5 months of the year. But we feel really good about where we're at. So, moving to the debt service fund. Really nothing of huge note there. Looks similar to what it did last month. There's no surprises. We made all of our scheduled debt payments in July. And so we are on schedule to end the year as we need to. There's not a lot of room in appropriation there at the end, but that's not a big deal. There shouldn't really be any surprises there at the end of the year. We know really closely what we think the TAW interest is going to be at the end, so we feel really good about the remaining appropriation that's sitting there. So moving over to operations. That one continues to follow real closely to projections, and that's a good thing. Claims continue to come in a little bit less than what projections show, and every once in a while that doesn't happen, but we feel really good about being pretty narrowed in about where we're going to fall month in and month out with some of those things. So again, year-end projections look really solid, not seeing huge gains in fund balance and operations, and that's fine. And we're continuing to stay on top of certain things that we need to get done operationally as different things come in throughout the month. Did want to make a quick note. We talked about, in previous meetings, talked about kind of where we're going with some of our future debt. We talk about where we're going to keep our tax rate and all that stuff. We are looking at doing a GO bond later this year. We probably will look at hopefully closing sometime in the fall, but we are working with Bose, McKinney, and Stiefel to continue to work on the parameters of that to make sure that in future board meetings that you guys have a really good idea of where that stuff's going to land, and then we can talk about it at future board meetings and a work session and all those things as we continue to try to work that out. But wanted to give you a heads up on that. Again, we've talked about, we knew we needed to do a bond issue this year. Everything we're doing is within our current total tax rate that we plan to keep that total rate neutral. But we'll work with Bose, McKinney, and Stiefel to make sure that those parameters are set out and all those expectations are met, and then we can talk about it in more detail in future meetings. So with that, I'll take any questions.
Any questions?
Did any early numbers? I know it's early. It's only been 4 days, but any early number counts?
No, we haven't really tried to push to see what the early numbers are on ADM. We'll start looking at that early this week. Kind of, there's a lot of in and out. We still wait on transfers out. Still waiting on, you get kids moving in and out. So we haven't really keyed in on that a whole lot. We'll start looking at that towards the end of this week as things start to really settle down.
Okay. We just would not have accurate information right now because we know the students that have arrived, obviously, but we don't know those students who might have decided to go somewhere else. And so we will start monitoring that probably starting this week, start looking at the numbers, and we'll share that with the board.
Thank you.
So all that budget stuff that you see there, that tuition support payment is based on our numbers on ADM staying pretty flatline. So I didn't project that out into what that's going to look like. So that stays pretty even moving forward. Once we know that ADM, then we can start to update those projections a little bit more, knowing what that reconciliation is going to look like in November and December once they actually take our true count.
Okay. And did we determine that is August 24th going to be our work session?
Yeah, I think we're still working on finalizing that date, but I think Dr. Sanders will probably be sending something out here soon to get that figured out.
Yeah, sooner better on that.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to consider one other date for that work session that I would like to be able to communicate with all of you to see if you could make that another option, and that might work better for everybody. So that's kind of the delay, but we need to get it done as soon as possible.
Right. Okay.
So not the 23rd right now then?
It's not.
Was looking at maybe that Thursday night as a possibility.
Okay.
But I just haven't had a chance to send that out to see if everybody could make that.
Okay.
Okay. Anything further? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Irwin. Next, we have consideration to approve a renewal contract with the CLASS program. Dr. Sanders.
Yes, so just as a reminder, CLASS means Connected Learning Assures Student Success. It's a program that has been implemented at Edgewood Primary School for several years. CLASS utilizes research on the brain to provide our teachers with the very best teaching practices. Really, the training that we have now would be mainly for new teachers. They'll provide 6 coaching days. The contract is for $12,374 and will be paid totally out of Title II. The contract has been reviewed and approved by Ferguson Law. This is an annual renewal contract that I ask for your approval.
I'll move approval.
A second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now consideration to approve the annual memorandum of understanding with Ivy Tech. Dr. Sanders?
Yes, so this is another annual agreement that we have with Ivy Tech. Ivy Tech provides an opportunity for dual credit for our students. An EHS teacher actually provides the instruction. Students are not charged any tuition. The MOU provides just some procedures for the dual credit program. It consists of three dual credit courses offered at Edgewood High School. This MOU has also been reviewed and approved by Ferguson Law. I recommend your approval.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or comments? I enjoy the partnership we have with Ivy Tech and the benefit that brings to our students to earn credits while yet still here at the high school. So it's a great partnership there. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now we have consideration to approve permission to advertising of the 2023 budget. Mr. Irwin.
Yeah, so it's that time of the year. Start working on the budget. Spent a lot of time in July working on that and here at the beginning of this month. And so what I gave you in the board packet, I put a graph in there that just kind of simply gave you kind of a look from last year's budget to this year's budget to get a feel for how it compares. Obviously, those numbers increased. The operations fund one being the most simplistic. Our MLGQ was a little bit over 5%, and it's a levy-driven fund. So our max levy grew by 5.92%, and so that was a big calculation and kind of how that operations fund budget grew as far as what it is that budget would look like for 2023. Debt service, I work with Stiefel pretty closely on this, with Chad Blacklock, Matt Shoemaker, and their team to look at just that tax rate management, our debt cliffs, and looking at what we have going on to make sure that we've structured that. The numbers that you see are high right now, and that's on purpose to make sure that we've advertised at a high enough rate. We can set our limits. When we advertise, we set that limit for our budget, and we can always work it down to meet where we want to be. But once you've set that limit, you can't change it without restarting the whole process. And so we advertise that artificially high there, and we know that we'll key in on that as we work with AV and all the different numbers as they kind of finalize, and we look at how that GO bond might be structured for this upcoming year. And so we'll work on that to narrow that down. Again, all that's driven by AV growth, looking at our debts that we have to pay over the next 12 months. Education fund, I built it up a little bit bigger. Again, I have to build in some assumptions there based on I know what our fiscal year budget is going to look like for 2023, but I also don't know what the fiscal year budget of 2024 is going to look like as far as what the state's going to do. And I also have to build in there a couple years worth of, okay, here's what we're going to do at the end of this year with pay. What might we do with next year? And so you have to build some of that in. So when we build out that budget, remember we're building in appropriation, which is the authority to spend. That doesn't actually mean revenue coming in. And you guys see that on a monthly basis. Obviously, we're keeping track of that, and you see those projections on a monthly basis. But we want to make sure that we set that appropriation high enough that we don't have to keep coming back and doing additional appropriation, all that stuff. So we built that up a little bit bigger to give ourselves a little bit of cushion. With that, I provided you a lot of other details kind of in the weeds there about the ways that we kind of go through building some of that up. But again, those are things that are kind of a year-over-year process that we go through, working through stuff with the DLGF based on guidance that they give, the checklist that they have, and our DLGF rep that we talk to as well. So with that, I'm asking for your permission to advertise. And again, I would advertise by August 26th is what I plan to advertise by, which is well in time ahead of our public hearing, which would be scheduled for next month. And that gets advertised at Gateway, and then I put stuff on our school website as well. So with that, I'll take any questions, but I'm asking for your permission to advertise the 2023 budget, the 2023 capital projects plan, and the bus replacement plan.
I move approval to advertise the budget.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or comments?
Some of the expenditures that you kind of earmarked out, those are flexible, though. We're not locked, when we send them into the state, we're not locked into those if we see a more urgent need elsewhere.
Yeah, so you have to build that out tentatively. So if I think I'm going to need X amount of dollars for this type of repairs, or I've built in so much money for maintenance of equipment, or those sort of things, you're building that up as far as just like you would your own home monthly budget. Say, I think I'm going to need about this much money for this. I think we're going to need about this, and so you're setting that budget and that appropriation to say, hey, this is the amount of money, the appropriation that we are asking for the authority to spend. Here's all the data and all the information, the revenue that we know we have coming in that backs up what it is that we're asking to spend, so that we show to the DLGF that we're not trying to spend more money than what we actually have coming in, or what we would have overall in our bank accounts between revenue and what's in our cash balances. And so you have to build that out in that way.
Okay.
I know it takes you a long time to work up the budget, and I know that there are a great deal of unknowns, so you have to make a lot of assumptions. But I'm really happy with the budgeting process the last several years, where we've had no big moments at all.
Right.
If anything, we've been conservative and been on track, and so even though there's a lot of unknowns, really believe you and your folks do a really good job of getting that really close, and so really appreciate that hard work.
And the key to that too is I think we do the monthly cash flows and we provide you that. It just shows that that constant monitoring, and when you're not monitoring like that, it leads to that greater chance of something like that happening. But we monitor it so close at the end of every month closing out that it gives us a really good idea of the direction that we're heading. So that process is a huge help, not only for you guys, but for everybody. So.
I appreciate the long-range planning and for example, the buses, the possibility that we may have to, you said we might have to replace a bus before it's due time. That's terrific to know ahead of time. So again, it's not a surprise.
Yeah, just trying to be transparent as possible to say, hey, this is what we think that we might be up against, or hey, we know we have these repair costs on this bus.
Yep.
So that possibility exists that we might need to replace it sooner than the 12 years. So.
Okay.
Anything further from Matt?
Thank you.
Hearing nothing, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Now we have consideration to approve an amendment to the 2022-2023 high school student fees. Mr. Irwin.
Yeah, so this is just a small amendment to the EHS student fees. This is for some Spanish classes, some curriculum that we needed. And so we follow the same process that we always follow as far as how we break out what the costs are to the student, following the IDOE guidelines about the max rental that you would charge for that curriculum, and then again basing it upon the different sections. So Mr. Ackerman worked on that, and again that was something that we needed to make sure that we had to make sure that we provided the curriculum that our students needed for Spanish, and so just asking for your revision formally to those EHS fees, and this was again particular to the Spanish classes.
I move approval of the amendment for the Spanish 3 textbook.
I second.
Need a second. Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consideration to approve bus routes.
Yeah, so this is a new one that we haven't done before, but again, it's something we'll do year over year moving forward. It's just guidance that we have from the IDOE about going through and approving the bus routes. You saw the voluminous amount of pages that were in the board packet of all the routes in the morning, in the afternoon, all the details that are there. But I think the one big thing is obviously, you know, there's a tremendous amount of work that goes into that by Audrey in transportation, and she makes sure and ensures that students have safe drop-offs, safe pickups. We're doing right side drop-offs and pickups so that students aren't crossing in front of buses. There's a lot of work that goes into that, and so that's just something that making sure that you guys have had a chance to look at that and know that, again, that's what we have there. And if you ever have any questions about how some of that works, reaching out to Audrey, and she'd be happy to answer some of those questions. We're just asking for you to approve our bus routes as they are now. Obviously, those things change as students come in and out, but by September 1st, we're supposed to have reached out, and you guys have looked at those and approved them. So we're asking for you to approve the bus routes.
I'd move approval.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or comments?
I just had one comment. I had never seen that in all my years in education. But it was good to see all the different stops.
Yep.
Stops, drop off, pick up, start,
Right.
end.
1/100th of a mile. Yeah.
Right. Nobody realizes how much is involved. And I know last week, one of the days we were, and I appreciate the communication Dr. Sanders sent that the buses were running about 30 minutes late just to double check things. And thanks to all of our transportation people for their safety and concern about making sure the kids are in the right place at the right time. So.
Yeah, Audrey and the bus drivers and the monitors take a great deal of care about making sure
Right.
the kids get where they're going and they get there safely. And obviously our buildings and making sure they get to the buses and off the buses and into the building. So it takes a lot of time and effort. And the start of the year, you want to go slow and make sure we got it right.
Right,
So
a lot of moving
kudos to all
parts.
that.
So, yeah, kudos.
Yes, the transportation department's worked really hard on those. I know if there's ever any concerns, Audrey's more than willing to meet with parents or whomever and go through and try to make sure that they have the safest possible plan for the students. So we appreciate all their hard work. Anything further? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now we have consideration to create an interventionist position. Dr. Sanders.
Right, so if you remember last month, I shared the results from our 2022 iLearn assessment, and at the same time, I shared with the board and the community the different strategies that Edgewood schools are implementing to address any academic gaps that were caused by the COVID pandemic. And if you remember, I reminded everybody that over the last 2 years, we've had only about 18 weeks of what we might call normal school. And one of those strategies that has been identified by the junior high teachers and administrators is to provide an increase in the amount of time to work on skills and knowledge to help them be successful. And so we're asking the board to approve a position called interventionist. And this person will work with students in small groups, sometimes one-on-one. They'll look at the data and share that data, talk to the teachers, and collaborate with the teachers on the specific needs of individual students. And we're going this route because as years go on and you get assessment data, you want to be able to respond in the most appropriate way to that data. And so this interventionist will enable us to be able, as we look at scores down the road, there might be a period of time where we may need to work on English language arts or reading, or in this case, the emphasis is going to be on math. And so this job description was made general enough that we will be able to apply it to different grade levels, different schools down the road. We have an idea of what we want to do here with this position. We're looking at to be just 2 years, and it'll be paid out of ESSER funds. And so it'll help us to, I think, better adjust and more quickly adjust to addressing any needs that come out of the test data, both the iLearn assessment, but also iReady, the formative assessment the students take throughout the year. So if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them, but that's our proposal, to create this job description, and then we'll go about posting the position, interviewing, and then hiring somebody, and bring that to the board at the September meeting.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or comments?
And this, I think, per our discussion today, Dr. Sanders, this is really going to be earmarked for those junior high kids in the math, right?
Right,
For this,
right.
because those scores were really needing some attention.
Right. If you look at our test results that I showed last month, really 6th, 7th, and 8th grade math, and my personal opinion, I believe that mostly comes from not being in school, unfortunately, as much as they should have been, that COVID caused that. And so this is our way of addressing those gaps as quickly as possible.
Okay, thank you.
Anything further? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have a consideration to approve an amendment to the admin furniture package. Mr. Irwin.
Yeah, so this is a small amendment to the admin furniture package that you guys approved back in June. There was 2 items on that had not included costs for the shipping, along with the actual purchase of the furniture, and with the addition of the shipping, that actually changed the winning bid. So based on what I gave you in the packet, we're changing who would be the awarded bidder for those 2 items, some stools, and then the coffee bar table for in the break room there in the admin building. It's not a huge influx or addition to the cost of the package, but it's something that we wanted to make sure that we did actually award to the low bidder, because it is the exact same product, just coming from a different person. And so we wanted to make sure that it got awarded to the lowest bidder. And so I'm just asking you to come back and formally approve the low bidder on those 2 items. So with that, I'm asking for your approval of the amendment.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions, comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have consideration to approve the Naviance renewal. Dr. Sanders.
Yes, so this is an annual renewal for Naviance. Naviance is a college and career readiness program, and as part of Ready Schools, we are trying to increase our emphasis on making sure that we're tracking, that we're providing information to students in terms of career awareness and giving them opportunities to explore different careers. We've developed a graduate profile that we are trying to align with what it means to be successful for students once they leave high school. Through Naviance, we're able to do some surveys with students to identify their strengths, their career interests, once again, their graduation pathway that they're interested in pursuing, resume building, and work-based learning opportunities, and tracking that. We've had this program since 2019. I would say that our progress with Naviance was definitely inhibited by COVID. Once again, I hate to blame everything on that, but when we talk about that our students only had 18 weeks of normalcy over the last 2 years, that's the same thing with our staff. When I think about the first semester last year, our principals, our counselors, teachers, just everybody associated with the school corporation, we are just so focused in trying to get through day to day and respond appropriately to the pandemic. And so this is something that, as we are hopefully returning to a sense of normalcy, that we could raise our expectations this year in terms of what we accomplish with Naviance. It is a quality program. It really aligns with what we're doing with career pathways and our graduate profile, and hopefully we have some time this year to focus on making this a really an effective program for our school corporation. The cost is $13,211.03. It's paid for out of our Medicaid dollars that we earn.
Okay. We have a motion.
I make
I
motion
move
to
approval.
approve.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now we have consideration to approve CompuControl agreement and invoice. Mr. Irwin.
So a few months back, you guys approved a quote which was to upgrade our ECA accounting software. And so these are the agreements that come along with that ECA accounting software, as well as the renewal of our current accounting software. So that's all the same system. Working through some revisions with them in the agreement, not major items, but just things that Ferguson Law and Christine had recommended for some verbiage change. And so working with Boyce to get that done. I have a call with them this week to hopefully get that finished up. And so what I'm asking for is you to approve these agreements pending satisfactory language as determined by Ferguson Law, and also the renewal quote for our accounting software through CompuControl. And so it's that paired item with the agreements, and again, the renewal of using that accounting software as well.
I move approval of the extension of the CompuControl agreement contingent on working out the language.
I'll second.
Any questions, comments? None. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now we have the renewal agreement for Harmony. Mr. Irwin.
So this is another renewal. We've used Harmony for a number of years now. Again, this is a renewal for one more year. We have been looking at some other student information systems, but we're going to continue to use Harmony. We've met with Skyward, Power School, met with Harmony again, and really tried to do our due diligence of seeing if there was a product that maybe better fit our needs. Meeting with Harmony again, there's some things that they feel like they can help us take advantage of that their software does, as well as doing some retraining with our staff to make sure that they're fully aware of how to use those features, to make sure that it works properly with everything that's changed with the state with reporting. It's really important that our data and inputs and all that stuff is done correctly, because it greatly reduces the amount of work that's involved with doing state reporting. And so there's a lot of work right now on Rick and technology and our secretaries to make sure we get a lot of that stuff cleaned up, but also just making sure our counselors and different people like that understand how they can use the system to make their job a little bit easier and more efficient. And so again, we're asking for another renewal for one more year of Harmony for our student information system.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
Any questions or comments?
And you've received input from all the buildings, administration and counselors, and whenever we're looking at this, we're getting feedback from all the stakeholders.
Yeah, so last year we went through a process that involved teachers, involved front office staff, that involved administrators, that involved different departments, and involved a lot of different people as far as investigating those other products. And then also just seeing what it is that made the most sense for us. So absolutely, there's a lot of people that are involved in the use of the system. It's not just the teachers or not just the building principals. It's a lot of different employee groups and different stakeholders that have to use that system, as well as the parents. And so we, taken a look at it from a whole different bunch of angles, from the guidance counselor's perspective, from a teacher's perspective, from an administrator's perspective,
Right.
from a parent's perspective. So there's a lot to consider there. And if we ever made that change, there is a lot of work to be done to make that work and go right. But we felt like, again, that Harmony had the ability to do some of the things that we needed to do to be more efficient and more functional. And again, there was just some extra training that we felt like our employees needed to have in order to make sure that we've given a really fair evaluation of whether or not it's the tool for us moving forward. And so hopefully we'll have a lot clearer understanding of that as the year goes on this year.
Well, I appreciate that investigation. It's kind of like Dr. Sanders has always said, trying to do business better, and really looking into that program. I know that took a lot of people's times, and we appreciate the time they put in on that. Anything further? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now we have consideration to approve the renewal of the Go Guardian teacher subscription. And for that, we have Mr. Roughton.
Evening. So GoGuardian is an application that the teachers use to monitor the students' activities on their Chromebooks in the classroom. This was an application that we sought a couple years ago. The first evaluation was a little sluggish. The next version they did really made some improvements, and the teachers really like being able to control and see what's going on with the students in their classrooms. It gives them the ability, if a student strays off, they can actually kill that session so they can't be seeing that website. They can also create what's called scenes, and they can block out their classroom from 9:30 to 9:50 and only allow these certain websites to be part of their educational curriculum. So we're just asking for another renewal for GoGuardian teacher subscription for our staff.
I'd move approval.
I'll second.
Any questions, comments?
I got the opportunity to pilot that first sluggish attempt, and it was frustrating, but I could see its value if it worked.
Yes.
And what my wife tells me is that it's working quite well. So
Yeah.
I'm glad that they were able to work out the bugs.
Yes, us too.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And our last action item is consideration to approve renewal of Lightspeed filter subscription license. Mr. Roughton.
All right, so we've had Lightspeed for a number of years. Lightspeed is a content filtering system that we use to make sure that all of our staff and students are following the rules of what they're supposed to be doing and seeing on websites. This is something that takes a lot of work and energy to maintain, to make sure that we keep it controlled and but not block it so much that the teachers can't use it in their classroom. So we're just asking again for another renewal of the filtration system, Lightspeed, for 1 year. And again, it's one that we really like. It's one that is easy to adapt and to modify versus another one that we tried out. Just didn't give us the flexibility to really drill down into some of the areas, especially YouTube and a few of the other ones. As probably Mr. DeMoss knows, YouTube is very difficult to filter, and so this one gives us the ability to really drill down to just the level of the video. So again, we're just asking for approval to move forward with the Lightspeed subscription renewal.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Can I ask off the agenda question?
Sure.
How are we doing on the cameras?
We're doing well. We've moving quite well with the high school. We have cameras up in the ceilings and cabling's done. They have exterior work to still finish up, but we're moving along pretty well.
Are you happy with the company?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Very happy.
Good. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Motion is passed. Now we have the superintendent's report. Dr. Sanders.
Yes, thank you. Before I get started on my report, I put on your desk a little flyer that we'll be putting in our welcome back or welcome to RBB packs and putting out for people who are going into realtor offices and looking to move here, and putting them in the Chamber of Commerce and just wherever we can find a place. But it talks about RBB and our Edgewood schools, our mission and vision statement, and gives a little blurb about each school. And so we hope to be sharing these around the community. And then also as a magnet for our school calendar that people could put on their refrigerator. It also has our vision statement, the caring, daring, and preparing. It has the phone numbers for each school. This is nice and handy for families to be able to put right on the refrigerator, and when you're looking for that phone number, it's right there, and key dates. These were printed before we did our early release days, so they don't include the early release days. I'm not sure where we would have fit those on here, but we will next year when we make next year's calendar. So these are really nice for our families. We've had a really successful start to the school year. We have every year we have a new teacher orientation meeting, and this year we had 30 new teachers at this new teacher orientation, which says that we had a lot of people we had to hire, but we got them all hired. We had every teaching position filled by the start of school. Gave those teachers a real warm welcome. You know, RBB is a special school corporation. And as I visited other school corporations, when we went through our year of planning for Ready Schools, we went and visited school corporations from Tennessee to Wisconsin. And I noticed when we visited each of these schools, that they had some really nice facilities. They had some great programs that we were there to see, but they all had excellent people who were making those programs and making those schools successful. So we already had that core here in our Edgewood schools, and when I think about we hired 30, the principals, when they called me up and said, hey, I want to hire this person or that person, they were literally very excited to get the quality teachers that we were able to get this year. So that's really good news. Every year we start the day before the first day for students, we have a welcome back staff meeting here in the auditorium. And this year we invited Pete Yonkman, who's the president of Cook Group and Cook Medical, to welcome our teachers back to a new school year. He talked about the importance of team, and he also shared with us some really cool information about what Cook does to give back to the community, and it was very inspirational and well received. We've had the traditional meet and greets at each of our schools, and they were well attended, and several people commented to me that there was a noticeable excitement this year for the new school year, and so that gives us a lot of inspiration. The first few days of school last week and today were pretty normal. We always have the start of school challenges that we have to work through, but for the most part it's been very successful. Fall sports are kicking in, and we've had last week we had golf and volleyball to get started. We have tomorrow will be the girls soccer first home game. The boys travel, I think, to Martinsville tomorrow, and then next week, next Monday, the boys soccer will have their first home game, and then Friday night we have a home football game against Mitchell. On the calendar, it says that was an away game, but we need to play it here. So we're trying to help our friends down at Mitchell to be able to accommodate and have the game up here at Edgewood High School. So a lot of things going on. We start back to school. Every once in a while, I like to share with the board and highlight partners that we have throughout the community. And tonight, I just wanted to highlight the Monroe County Redevelopment Commission. We receive a grant from them. We receive $270,000 a year that goes towards our Ready Schools initiative. The commission is a 5-member board, but we also have, RBB has representation on the board, an ex officio representation, which happens to be Brad Tucker. This year it's been Dana Kerr for several years before that. The reason I'm just bringing that up tonight is just to let you know that this Wednesday we will be giving our semi-annual presentation to the RDC. That'll be on Wednesday, August 17th at 4:30, and it's at the Monroe County Courthouse. So there's a way for you to watch that live stream if you would like to. And then I finally want to give you, one more thing on the RDC. On the back are our goals that we developed for our proposal to the RDC. And so Jamie Miller will be providing the commissioners with some updates on where we are on these goals. Once again, if you want to view it live stream, let me know. I'll send you the link on that. And then I just wanted to give you a quick update on the construction. The preschool is pretty much done. We're working on the playground and really trying to work around the weather for that to finish up the playground. There's some punch list items that we're working through, the replacement of an electric door strike being one of them. And so we're finishing up the preschool. And then the new administration support services building and transportation office is ongoing. We're expecting that to be done mid to late October, I hope. So for the new administration building, the masons are finishing up on the stone and are starting the brick, and they might have actually started the brick around back. I didn't have a chance to go around back today, but they're about to that point. The windows have been a problem that seem to be getting pushed back, and there's some of the work that has to be paused until the windows could be installed. They're supposed to be delivered on Wednesday. We hope there aren't going to be any more delays on that. And then they're doing some other mechanical unit work, rough ends, pulling wire, installing the gypsum board, and also the doors have been delivered. And then for the transportation office or building, the air piping and water lines have been run into the maintenance. The contractor should be cutting, there's a door that goes between where the new bays are and into the old part of the transportation and maintenance building. They should be cutting into that and putting a door in there, I believe, very soon. Probably maybe by the end of this week. Obviously, you could see that the painting of the old administration building was completed. The trench drain in front of the bus maintenance addition should be complete, and new concrete apron installed by the end of next week. So we meet every Tuesday morning with the contractor and the architect to review where we are. We have an opportunity to ask questions. We can share our concerns, and it's really helpful to make sure that we're addressing all the issues related to these projects. And as you know, construction is all around has been delayed because of just not having materials, and we've been hit hard by that ourselves. But we're getting there. We're making some progress. So that's my report for tonight.
Any questions for Dr. Sanders? None. Thank you very much. Now we have RBBEA comments, and we have Mr. Niels with us this evening.
Well, good evening, everyone. As Dr. Sanders said, school has started, so on behalf of all the teachers, we're officially tired already. There's no doubt we're a little bit out of shape, but it's a good kind of tired. So I got 5 or 6 things going in my head, but it's good to see the kids. It's a good kind of energy. We'll see where it goes, but it's been great so far. Dr. Sanders mentioned the new teacher lunch last Friday. Sign of the times, I noted 8 former students there of mine, so sometimes that's a good thing because they're wanting to come back this way, so I will take that as a plus. I even told them, I said, I've been here 29 years, don't ever plan on leaving. I said, I think you're in a good place. So I may be biased, but I'm glad they're here. It's good to see those familiar faces. Speaking of familiar faces, Jen Anderson is back. I know you've been back for a while, but I've known of her for several years when she was in a neighboring corporation and have never heard anything but good things about her. So glad you're back, without a doubt. Also, thank you, Dr. Sanders and whoever else was involved in getting Pete Yonkman to speak. Some people asked me how that went, and I said I wasn't sure what to expect from a business person, but I think he hit the nail on the head when he talked about teamwork and just, I was surprised by what he said. Dr. Sanders, I'd seen him on the first day of school, and it was just spot on with the things he said, and especially related to teachers. So thank you for that. And lastly, thank you for approving Go Guardian. I'll just say I haven't personally used it ever. Math teacher, I tend to use a lot of paper pencil, but every teacher I know from elementary to high school rave about the program because in a never increasing online environment, even inside your classrooms, they really appreciate it because we're still teaching kids how to be adults, teaching how to have them be responsible. So it gives them another tool to help them navigate that access. So thank you for that as well. And look forward, like you said, all this fall sports, and here we go again. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Shields. Now we have our board member comments, and we'll start with Mr. DeMoss.
Well, it's, first of all, it's hard to believe that it's been 29 years that Mr. Ewells has been around. He's still a kid. No, it was the first day with Mr. Yonkman, the energy of the new teachers. I get to meet a number of them. 30 new teachers for the orientation has got to be a record for our school corporation, but the ones I've met have been dynamite, and I am so excited about this year. I just feel a positive energy. I could see it on Saturday with the all the parking for the cross country and the soccer over there, and then I saw the girls did great on Saturday in volleyball, and I get to hear the band regularly, and it's just the beginning of the school year is always exciting, always fun, and this seems like a special year, so I'm looking forward to it. But thank you.
Mr. Durham.
You fooled me. I just want to thank everybody for all the hard work. I've been up to school, elementary schools, a couple times already, and it seems like things are going pretty well. I just want to thank the building principals because you guys are the ones that make things work. I really appreciate your efforts, so thank you very much.
Ms. Jacobs.
I agree with everything that everyone said. The one thing I wanted to say is that I'm super excited about how the kids have responded in coming into this year. And I'll speak from my kids' standpoint. They're both in high school, and the one who doesn't like school as much as the other does said, "Mom, this is going to be a good year."
Good.
So I'm excited. He's happy to be here.
Very good.
Mr. Tucker.
Yeah, ditto from what everybody said, and what Angie said. I thought that was her son outside, and I said, "You having a good year so far?" He goes, "I'm loving it." And so that was good to hear from him. But hey, I want to put a congrats to all the new people coming in, and for all the veterans that are going to wrap their arms around them and help them out, because those 30 young people had that first night jitters where they probably didn't sleep much and had that knot in their stomach. And I've been away from it for a long time, but I still have that knot in my stomach, worried about buses and people getting there safely and so forth. And thanks to Pete Yonkman. That was a good, probably the best 15-minute message I've heard in a long time. He hit the points, and he really opened my eyes up to a lot of things that Cook does that I wasn't even aware of. And I've been in this area for 20-some years, so thank you to him. I want to put a plug on for, I haven't figured out how to use it yet, but Edgewood High School Athletics has a new app with a lot of different things to help parents out, which also ties into what we approved the last board meeting with the different forms. I can't remember the name of the power forms, final forms. Yeah, and it's I think that's going to be a great way of communicating with the doctors, the parents, the coaches. If somebody gets hurt, I think there's a lot of power in that application. So kudos to them to try to work with that. So, but thanks to all, and let's have a great year.
Just want to thank everybody for coming tonight, and thanks for a great start to the year. We are hit the ground running, and I'm just so excited to see everything alive here at Edgewood. So we appreciate all your hard efforts getting us going, and we want to appreciate Katz and Keith and Rick and all those others that help make this board meeting work. So they don't get recognized enough. So I just want to say thanks to you guys. With that, this meeting's adjourned. Thank you.